on our way down to Eversley today to the Bird Bikes new HQ. We've been invited down to an open day there to see their new showroom and then potentially a little ride out with them. Nathan's obviously very excited, usually a miserable bastard, but buzzing today because obviously he's got a Bird bike. Not due to the fact that his last name is Bird, but I don't know if that influenced it at all.
Ever so slightly.
And he does chat to the owner. Who's the owner again?
Dan Hodge is the main designer. It's a team, British building team, who, are just known for the customer service, let alone the superb bikes. Year in, year out, putting these bikes out for a small company and are getting trail bikes of the year. It's putting out things that they want to ride, and they know what people want to ride.
Hey, let's jump to the Bird showroom, shall we, and check it out.
Woo!
I'm Dan, one of the founders and the directors of Bird. So we started the company back in 2013. And it really came from a desire to, when we were buying a bike, to have a bike that was exactly how you build it yourself. Because very often you'd buy a bike and you change out like the handlebars or the tyres or the grips or the saddle, and by the time you got the bike home you'd then put a load of bits on eBay and it was just a lot of hassle. You'd end up spending more money. So we thought, what if you could actually buy a bike exactly how you build it yourself? So that was really Ben's idea. Ben Pinnock, who's the other director. And he approached me as to whether I would want to come and design the bikes. I'm a chartered mechanical engineer by background with a love of bikes, and the two kind of made a lot of sense. This is a grand opening of our new showroom, so we've been putting lots of work into this since November, so a real complete refurbishment, all new paint and ceiling, and more importantly lots of nice shiny new bikes here. So the idea is we're open 7 days a week. People can book a demo on our website. You can come and take the bike away to Swindley or Surrey Hills or wherever you like, bring it back, have a coffee, chat about bikes. We will have some stock bikes as well, so that if there's a bike that's in your size that's close enough to the spec that you want, you can just take that away there and then. Or we can help you put a spec together on our website for the perfect bike to be delivered when our factory can build it. It actually came from the trails at Swindley that both me and Ben were involved in at the time. So there was a group called Trail Team Swindley that was, we had to do lots of consideration for the ground nesting birds. And as a result, we called this, Ben called this project the Stupid Ground Nesting Bird Project, because it was just a funny thing, irrelevant thing to call it. And it just kind of stuck, the bird thing stuck, that was all. Obviously you can see the ethic behind me, so that's been in prototyping now for a few months, and it's actually the frames are actually in production but have been delayed by the Shimano motors. So e-bikes are something that I've been getting interested in for a while now, and since riding that I've been even more interested because it's a lot of fun. So I've got some ideas for some more e-bikes. But also there's lots of projects happening that are non-e-bikes that I can't tell you about, unfortunately, but we will be launching at least one new bike this year, so stay tuned for that. But yeah, I've got lots of ideas for future stuff, so more carbon bikes are in our future for sure. As you can see over here, and here we've got some Ether 9Cs, that's our first carbon bike. Learned a lot of lessons from that, so there's going to be more things like that on the horizon. I've been asked lots of questions about the high pivot on the Ethic, and was that something I wanted to do on an e-bike or a non-e-bike, and the answer is no. I didn't set out to build a high pivot bike, and what I did was set out to build an e-bike that had the closest possible geometry to what I wanted to ride. And if you look at lots of e-bikes, they have really long chainstays. And as a designer, I wouldn't choose to design a bike with a 455, 460mm chainstay, which is what quite a lot of e-bikes have. And the reason they have that is because they've been forced to do it by the size of the motor and the size of the back wheel. Because if you look around here, there's not a lot of room between the tyre and the motor housing, especially if you wanted to fit in a yoke and a suspension pivot and chain guides and all that stuff. So it was actually driven by having the best possible chainstay length on an enduro class e-bike. So my solution was, instead of having all this stuff down here which pushes the rear tire out, let's actually raise up the yoke and the pivot up out of the way, and then you can add the idler, which brings the anti-squat under control. It also gives some other benefits to the suspension. So when you raise it up, you actually end up with a slightly more rearward axle path, which I'm sure you hear people talk about a lot more, or in other posts. But that essentially what you're trying to do is bring the rear axle path more in line with the fork, so that when it compresses, your wheelbase remains more stable. Because what typically happens on a bike is when you compress the front and rear, the front end of the bike comes in, it gets shorter, and also the back end swings up, so your wheelbase shrinks real down. I don't know if you ever felt that, but when you hit a compression and your bike can all of a sudden feel really twitchy in a high compression point, that's due to your wheelbase getting shorter, as well as you put a lot of load through the tyres in what can very often be quite a slippy bit of trail if it's in a dip. So that's where the desire for a rearward axle path comes from, is actually to match the path of the front axle. What it also does is it reduces the reliance of the rear suspension, so you have something called anti-squat, which is what stops the back end from squishing down when you accelerate, either on a motorbike or a mountain bike. It reduces the reliance of the anti-squat on the chain, because when you rely on a lot of chain anti-squat, you get the kickback through the pedals. So when you reduce that reliance on the chain and use more of the pivot location to generate anti-squat, you actually generate less kickback through the pedals, which you feel is a smoother ride. So it just feels like the bike glides over bumps more rather than kicking back through the feet. It may not be something you've ever felt. If you ever had a bike with twin front chainrings and you were in the smallest chainring on the front, that's when you would feel pedal kickback typically. So if you're on a rooty technical climb, you'd feel it through the pedals in the smallest gear. If you on a normal size chainring, it's a bit harder to feel, but it's still there. I think that's probably all I can say on that. The Forge, I would say, is more of an enduro hardtail. It's a 29er, but if you compare it to our 029, so we've got two 29er hardtails, the Forge is actually much more aggressive in its geometry. It's a shorter back end, a slightly slacker front end, and it's longer. So the 029 is more of our trail all-rounder hardtail, and then the Forge is kind of more of an enduro feel to it. And you can feel that when you ride it. They may look only subtly different in the geometry, but they ride very, very differently, particularly in the tight and twisty stuff.
Thank you very much,
Cool.
Dan.
You're welcome.
And yeah, thanks for inviting us down today.
Good to see you here.
And look forward to the ride out.
Yeah.
So we're off on a ride out now with Dan and the guys from Bird, following him to the local trails. There are some rideable from the factory, but apparently they've been destroyed during the storm. Oh, and also, I'm the only person here now not riding a Bird.
No, there is one guy on a white, to be fair
okay.
to you.
Right, then.
So you can ride with him.
Yeah. So let's jump to the single track and check it out.
I'm back strong.
Thanks a lot, appreciate it.
Yeah.
Nice one.
Good.
Quick roundup. What an absolutely awesome day. Great to be invited down. Massive thanks to Dan, James, and all the guys at Bird for the invite. Absolutely great bunch. Just great company, a lot of thought, as you can probably see from the video goes into it as an ex-engineer. Great British brand and nice ride out as well. You saying, Nath?
Yeah, it's good to meet him. I mean, I've been pestering Dan for a while now, but he's always, like I said earlier on, he's always happy to help. The one thing I will say, which I did forget to mention earlier on, and he hasn't had much of a mention, is Ben Pinnock. Obviously the other big part of Bird, and the customer service, you know, is a lot to do with him. As most people who have birds will testify to. Is it testify? Whichever. You know what I mean. Testify. Buying bikes, customising them, changing your mind the last minute. It's no trouble to them. So
Dealing with ball aches like you mean?
Ball aches like me. And I'll be ordering another one soon. So
Yeah, sounds like they've got some exciting
all
news
over
out.
again.
Nathan's got a prediction. What are you saying?
I've just got a feeling of a carbon IM9. Just think a carbon IM9 might be on the cards, but
He did say he's going a lot of carbon, didn't he?
but not giving much away, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, great day out, and please like and subscribe. If you've got any comments or questions for Bird, pop them on the video, because I'll send it over to Dan and the guys and James, and I'm sure they'll be happy to answer any questions you've got on that as well. So thanks for watching, and we'll see you
In
on the
2
trailer.
miles at junction 10A, take the M54 exit to Telford, Wolverhampton.
See you later.